What if the people tearing apart Nigeria's bridges are not simply looking for scrap metal? And what if we are only going to understand the danger after a bridge collapses and innocent people dies? That is the disturbing question raised by the growing report of vandalism across critical infrastructure in Lagos. Before we continue, if you are new to this channel, please subscribe, share, and turn on the notification bell so you'll be the first to get our update as they drop. At first glance, the removal of bridge components may look like another case of desperate criminals searching for something they can sell. But there is something deeply troubling about the desperate targeting of infrastructure that millions of people depend on every day. And this is where the argument becomes much bigger than Lagos. The question is not whether bridge vandalism is happening. There is evidence that it is. The real question is whether what we are seeing is ordinary criminal activity, organized infrastructure theft, deliberate sabotage, or something politically more dangerous. Because bridges are not ordinary piece of public property. They connect communities, carry millions of commuters, facilitate the movement of goods, and support the economy. Damage one badly enough, and the consequences can go far beyond the cost of repairing concrete and steel. History has shown us that terrorists and hostile groups understand this very well. In Colombia, bridges were deliberately targeted with explosives during years of armed conflict. Researchers who studied terrorist attacks on Colombian bridges found that these attacks were concentrated in areas affected by conflict. The objective was not simply to destroy a structure. Attacking a bridge could disrupt transportation, isolate communities, and interfere with the movement of security forces and economic activities. Pakistan offers another striking example. In 2024, terrorists destroyed a railway bridge in Balochistan, disrupting rail bridges between Qatar and other parts of the country for weeks. The bridge became a strategic target precisely because destroying it could interrupt movement and impose a much larger cost than the physical structure itself. Iraq provides another lesson. During the conflict there, terrorist attacks damaged bridges that were critical to the movement of military convoys, commercial traffic, and humanitarian supplies. A damaged bridge could force vehicles onto alternative routes, increasing traveling time and exposing them to additional security risks. And there is another even older example from Africa. In Zambia in 1966, authorities uncovered a plot to destroy a railway bridge in an attempt to disrupt the movement of copper. The bridge was never destroyed, but the case demonstrated something important. Hostile actors have long understood that you don't always have to attack people directly to damage a country's economy. Sometimes you attack the infrastructure that keeps the economy moving. This is why the situation in Lagos State deserves serious attention. But we must also be careful. It would be irresponsible to declare every person vandalizing a bridge a terrorist simply because the activity appears irrational or destructive. Someone stealing metal for money is a criminal. Someone deliberately sabotaging infrastructure to cause disruption is a saboteur. A terrorist attack requires evidence of a broader objective involving terror, intimidation, political or ideological goals, or other elements recognized under terrorism law. So, the fact that someone is removing bridge components does not by itself prove terrorism. And this is where I believe the original argument needs to go deeper. The frightening possibility is not necessarily that every bridge vandal in Lagos is already working for a terrorist organization. The frightening possibility is that criminals may be exposing vulnerabilities that a much more organized enemy could eventually exploit. Think about it. If criminals can repeatedly access critical infrastructure, remove components, and potentially compromise public safety, what happens if someone with explosive military training, intelligence, and a political objective discovers the same weakness? That is the national security question Nigeria should be asking now, not after a catastrophe. Nigeria already has a massive security problem. Millions of people have been displaced by insurgency, banditry, communal violence, and other forms of insecurity. States such as Plateau and several parts of the north have experienced repeated attacks, while communities have been forced to abandon their homes. But it would be a mistake to connect every one of these problems as though they are the same phenomenon. Bridge vandalism in Lagos State cannot automatically be blamed on the insurgency in Plateau. There has to be evidence. What we can say, however, is that they form part of a broader question about how effectively Nigeria protects its people, its economy, and its critical infrastructure. And there is another uncomfortable question. Why are vulnerable pieces of public infrastructure repeatedly accessible to vandals in the first place? Where are the surveillance systems? Where are the patrols? Where is the intelligence? Who is buying these stolen components? Who are the middlemen? Where do these materials eventually end up? And perhaps most importantly, are security agencies investigating these incidents simply as petty theft? Or are they asking whether some attacks could be coordinated? Because if investigators arrest the person removing the metal but never investigate the network buying it, the problem simply moves from one bridge to another. The international examples should therefore serve as a warning, not as proof that terrorism has already taken over Nigerians' bridges. Colombia shows us that the bridges can become strategic terrorist targets. Pakistan shows how destroying one bridge can disrupt transportation for weeks. Iraq demonstrates how bridge attacks can interfere with military, humanitarian, and commercial movement. Ecuador has also experienced attacks involving explosives and bridges amid a wider crisis involving armed criminal groups. And Zambia's 1966 sabotage plot demonstrates that infrastructure can be targeted for economic and strategic reasons even outside conventional terrorism. So, perhaps the most important question isn't, are Lagos Bridge vandals terrorists? The question is, how vulnerable are Nigeria's critical infrastructure system to someone who actually has terrorism intention? That is a question the government cannot afford to answer after a bridge has collapsed. Because by then, the investigation may no longer be about vandalism. It may be about lives lost. It may be about economic paralysis. It may be about communities cut off from one another. And it may be about asking why the warning signs were ignored. Nigeria has spent years responding to insecurity after attacks happen. Perhaps the bigger challenge now is learning to identify the vulnerabilities before an enemy decides to exploit them. And that is why what is happening to Lagos bridges should not simply be dismissed as another story about people stealing scrap metal. It deserves investigation, it deserves intelligence, it deserves surveillance, and above all, it deserves the question that should concern every Nigerian. Are we looking at ordinary criminals? Or are criminals unknowingly exposing the blueprint for something far more dangerous? Let me have your take. Drop them on the comment section. Don't forget to like, share, and comment, as well as hit the notification bell so you don't miss out on our updates. Till next time, stay informed and stay connected.
This road na international highway. Now this road goes straight to Badagry, goes straight to Benin, go everywhere. So it has to be cleared. Other time when they do chop for us, you say you know they there again. Loma day here, they go clear all the dirty. If I see anybody there, will lie. One day, pwah. You know say, That's why I come here to thank all of you. Say no problem, no fight. I see Ajia. I see Yanya, everybody is okay. We'll go do space for trailer park. I don't see Oga, we'll go do them. At the end of the day, you know, say now APC do all these good things for you. You see that one where they do there, right? I don't tell the contractor, say, he has to bring the price down so that you go afford that shop there.